Hi, I am Vivek Kaushik. I am a 2018 Teach for India Fellow and I am currently teaching 10th grade at Gumfa Road English Medium School in Jogeshwari East in Mumbai City. And from last year when our class was doing just one project, this year my class has been able to start some 6 projects, student-led projects, and even like within last 1 month also, three more four student projects are like in kind of incubation stage, and hopefully by the end of the year I am expecting that every student from my class would be running a project where they would be like doing something really good and useful for the society, and trying to bring a change in the society where they come from. So I started telling students that all of them have capabilities to do something really great in lives. So I started giving them some freedom. So something like we even established some democratic structure in the class where students were free to choose when do they want to read, when do they not study, when do they not want to study, what are the goals they have for themselves for next 3-4 years. And these things kind of give them a push that okay, when our teachers are trusting us, so we should also go ahead and we should explore the world. Then it established a good rapport also between me and my students, and over a period of time students started opening up with me and started telling about their ideas, like if someone wants to have a good and clean building, if someone wants to like do something about gender empowerment, or if someone wants to like help students from other classes because their class had a Teach for India support, but other students were not having Teach for India support. So in that way I realized that yes, students really wanted to do a lot of things, but nobody I guess had asked them to try these things, or nobody talked to them about these things. And once they realized that I was okay with all these ideas, they started doing it. One more advantage was that normally I used to stay back in the school till 6 p.m. So it was like almost 11-12 hours staying back in school, and that after time, time after the school gave me as well as my students a lot of time to explore their ideas, to work with each other. So normally they used to stay back till 6 o'clock. So from 1 to 6 after the school, these students would work with each other, discuss with each other, and make some ideas and start implementing it in the school. I personally had these experiences when I myself was a child, that if your parents and teachers don't support you or don't show confidence in you, then even if you have talent, you feel really scared to present it, so that no one can figure out your mistakes sometimes. So if you give that freedom to the students, then students actually start exploring the world, because students are really curious about this world, and they are not like they are not occupied with these biasnesses that okay, these things will not work or these things will work. They have fresh mind, and sometimes even when something have failed in past, they would like to try to do these things. And that is the beauty with the students, and that is what I wanted to explore. And that's why I believe that okay, if I give the freedom to my students, they will definitely do something new about all the problems in the community. I guess the most important thing for any student is to have a clear idea about what he or she is trying to do. So if they have this clarity about it, then students are competent enough to balance both these things. Any student, even if he or she is a topper of the class, they don't need to study for like 15 hours or 20 hours. Even if you are doing it in a very systematic, planned way, a student can easily study for 5-6 hours, 7 hours, and then rest of the time they can explore rest of the things. So I have also been teaching my students since since the beginning, that they have to plan their time very nicely. So if like morning 7 o'clock they are coming to the school, so till from 7 to 1 or 2, for 6-7 hours they have to study very efficiently, and that will give them the time to explore other opportunities. And so 4-5 hours they sit with me, sometimes even they play with me, and while playing also we explore all other things. And then in the evening also again they can go back and study for 2 hours. So it is like balancing all the things, and that is what makes it possible for them also. So it is basically about good planning and good management of the time, instead of like just either focusing on just one thing or just on another thing, kind of balancing both the aspects. again many times students were not being able to start their projects because they had a little bit idea about this thing, but they didn't know how to exactly start the project or how to carry on that process. So we started with one or two very basic projects. So one very basic thing was where they can actually maybe help each other through learning circles, so kind of peer-to-peer learning and something like this. And slowly we tried to build that confidence in the students. But yeah, over a period of time, one or two students started excelling in that thing, and those students started developing themselves as student leaders, and they started developing each other. And then we realized that, because both of us also believe that students are also a very, very important part of this system, and they actually are at that level, being in 10th grade, that they can actually support us in our day-to-day lives also. So we started giving responsibilities to the students, and some of the students were really committed enough to take responsibilities by themselves also, and they started helping each other. And that is what helped us to start multiple projects in my school. So when we made collabs within the class, we realized that he was like very, very good with pushing other students also, and for his collab members at least he started taking responsibility, and he even made us few promises that he would take care of their studies as well as co-curricular activities. Then he was participating in cricket tournaments also, and there also he was being able to not just push his own team but even the girls team of the school also, and he along with one of his classmates, they were actually going and coaching the girls team also on a regular basis. So this year when we were thinking about multiple projects and some students came up with multiple ideas, by that time Raghavendra had already started with his own project where he wanted to support other classes also. Like they had started kind of community teaching where they were going to other classes and supporting them. Over a period of time with more students he collaborated, and all these students came up to us and they said that they wanted to do something about gender empowerment also in the community. Then again after 1 month again he collaborated with few more students, and he was like now he was then interested in bringing science as an experiential learning instead of just bookish learning. So but we also discussed with him that it would be too much for him also as such to handle, and it would be too much for us also to handle that much. And one day I and my co-fellow were just discussing about Mackenzie, that how if it would have been so great if we would have a consultancy or something like that to support us with all these projects. We could have just asked them to help us with these ideas or something like that. And he just heard that, and next day he was ready with a plan to support all these projects. So he took one step backwards, and he kind of made a plan where he was ready to support all the groups instead of being himself in the limelight. So he pushed all the students to to take ownership of these projects in their own names, and he was ready to support all these projects like a consultant. So he became a consultant for these 3 projects initially, and within next 10-15 days he was able to push 10 more students to start 3 more projects in the class. And then we discussed at length about the depth of these projects also. And then I, my co-fellow and Raghavendra, we sat together and we discussed that if we can actually make a separate track for these projects where like these students would be doing exactly something like a fellow does, like making regular plans, then measuring the impact of these plans, and then how can they make it on a sustainable basis and actually chalking out the plans for like next 3 months, next 6 months, and a long-term plan also. So all these things would be able to help us to effectively implement and these projects and measure the effectiveness of these projects. So now in our class what we are having, those students who have already started their projects, they are having this weekly learning circles with Raghavendra, and in those learning circles Raghavendra share his planning skills with them and help them to plan for these things better. Raghavendra had attended internship with Teach for India fellows at Pune also, and he has learned all those skills and techniques which fellows generally learn during their training program, and he has learned all these aspects of planning, backward planning, reflection, and then developing ownership in yourself. And these skills now he is transferring to all these students, and now all these students have like become equally strong leaders, and every time now these students are further creating that chain. So this has become like a now 4-layer, 5-layer chain within the school itself, where like Raghavendra is like taking support from the fellows and teaching these student leaders, and then these student leaders are developing next generation of student leaders, and then they're supporting the next grade also, like the lower grades also. And recently they have started they have expanded their projects to nearby schools also. Raghavendra will immediately learn something from you as soon as he meets you. So he also I guess discussed this thing with many of us multiple times when we were discussing about Teach for India's philosophy, that creating more leaders in the community will be able to help us to solve the problems. And he understands this thing very well, that he alone cannot solve all the problems. He needs support from every stakeholder. So it is not just that he is concerned about creating student leaders, he is trying to involve every stakeholder. So I guess he is the one student from my class who would go to other BMC teachers also in the school every day. He will even go to the chowkidars, the watchmen, the sweepers also, and meet them and greet them and make relationship with them. He will go to teachers of different mediums of the school also and make relationship with them. He will go to other stakeholders within the community also, and he will try to involve everyone in this process. So that is the thing, his understanding about this concept, that he does not need to work alone. He needs to bring everyone in this thing, and then only we can make a better world. When he started this, he was working on this one project last year. It was 100 women. It was about gender empowerment only. I guess he, along with few of the students only, were being able to consistently work on that project, because earlier there were like 15 students who were working on this project, but by the end of the year only 5-6 students were taking it really seriously. And then he realized that okay, many of the students are not committed enough or dedicated enough to carry on these projects. And then he thought that maybe he can do a project individually or something like that, because he himself is at least a dedicated person. Sometimes he was like, okay, I will just focus on my studies and I would become an IAS officer, and then I would try to change the system itself. Or sometimes he would feel like that, okay, I would become a businessman and I would then earn a lot of money, and then I would donate a lot of money, and then maybe that would be able to change the system. Or then sometimes he would believe that okay, I would become a speaker and I would try to at least motivate people and like push them to think more. So over a period of time, he has gone through a lot of ideas and emotion, and even now also every day he goes through all those emotions and ideas. And many times he tells me like, I'm not being able to sleep because I was thinking too much. And he goes through those things. Sometimes like even at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock also, he will come across any idea and he will just drop me a text or message that I am thinking about this thing, I would like to discuss this thing with you tomorrow, something like that. So now also, so over a period of time when he was going through all these emotions, then when he heard about this consultancy, he realized that yes, this is the one platform where I can support all the projects instead of getting myself too deep into one project, and then I can work on different aspects. So now he is being able to work for gender empowerment also, he is being able to work on like supporting other classes also, or even supporting co-curricular activities and something like that. And by managing all these things also, even what the cultural program which we are planning right now, Sangam, which is a citywide event conducted by our school for all the students of Teach for India. So even in that also, he is not part of any team as such, but he is actually an advisor to both the fellows. So he is looking after each and every work, but he is not in any team as such. So he is an advisor to all the teams. So basically he will be everywhere instead of going too deep into some work. So he has realized this thing now, because he has so many ideas. So instead of like putting too much effort in one thing, instead of doing labor part of that work, he would transfer these ideas and skills to one group and let them work on that thing, and then he will start working on that other idea also. When he is doing all these things, so he is not just thinking about this school, he is thinking beyond this school also. So, and actually he has started working on this aspect also. So now like this cultural fest is an opportunity where students from other schools are going to come and explore all these opportunities. Even in the opportunity which is like learning circles, conducted by the student leaders from my class, where through which they are planning to make these students independent learners. They have started doing these learning circles in nearby schools also. Similarly, what Raghavendra has started doing is whenever he is going in any citywide event like recently when city conference held, even in that city conference also when all the fellows were having LCs, he immediately created a learning circle of students and he started facilitating that learning circle of the students there. And even we were done with our learning circles first and he was still taking that learning circle with all other students. So he has started thinking about beyond the school and beyond the community also, and over a period of time, like once he joins his college, then he is planning to take this plan forward. And like I also have one plan in mind, like which was my own idea for myself, like kind of an initiative Antim Pug, in which we are like planning to groom student alumni. So for that also Raghavendra is an active member and he has already started working on that aspect, and when next year he will become a student alumni. So he is planning to reach out to other schools also, and maybe if possible to other cities also, to expand such opportunities to each and every student, so that he can share his learnings here, his ideas, his skills with each and every student in the city or in the country also.